leadership ye-alliance yonke, media zonke intatheli ezikhona sanibonani. Leadership, thank you very much for choosing Mrs. Mapita team to host this promotion celebration. You couldn't have chosen any better place. Okay. Besisanibonga impela ngokuthi nikhethe iMoses Mapita team ukuthi sizohosta the 113th celebration ye-ANC ye-province. Bengeke nikhethe enye indawo engcono because this we claim ukuthi is the home of the ANC. While sikonke ngokusho kwamfundisi kusenza ukuthi sibe phansi, kodwa ukuvuka nokuvuseleleka kwe-ANC kahle kuze kuhambe kahle bekumele ukuthi size la. Yila ekwakuthi nangekhathi kusenzima zomzabalazo umama Qabane kade sathi uzohlangana lana kube khona izinto ezithile ezinhle eziphuma. That is why kungabanga imistake bahola ukuthi uma kufonywa umbutho lo wangempela kuthatha isinqumo sokuthi ufonywe umbutho ovikela abantu base-South Africa. Leso sinqumo sithathwe la ngoba kucaca ukuthi ubandlululo noma kungathiwa wenzeni abavuma ukugoba, and the only way was ukuthi sibathathe head on uma belwa sibe la. Kwangeyona-ke imistake ukuthi that All in Africa conference izoba njengala, yingoba isendaweni le ye-ANC. Njengamanje siyavumelana sonke ngalamazwi wamfundisi ukuthi yes, we are done. Kodwa ANC remains the hope of abantu base-South Africa. Uyabonakala la ngezinto ezizenzeka, ama-developments enzakalayo kusukela ngaleso sikhathi konakele esingazisonke ukuthi kwenzakalayo, kodwa konke okunye kuyakhombisa ukuthi we remain the only hope okuthuthukisa impilo zabantu balana nokuzishintsha for the better. Siyabonga ukuthi nikhethe ukuza la for this celebration, and siyakholwa ukuthi uhambo oluqale lana kuba uhambo oluhle. The ANC will be a better organization moving forward. Siyabonga kakhulu ngalokho. You are all welcome. Ngiyakholwa ukuthi sizoenjoy i-breakfast, kodwa bese sienjoya-ke i-hospitality yabantu bala eMoses Mapita. Ngamazwi noma sesiqedile eralini sesilalelile uDSG nomyalezo we-ANC, I invite you ukuthi nihlale nathi. Ningahambi this afternoon emva kwerali sihlala laphana eMaritzburg Golf Club. Kukhona abanye abazobe behlangene khona to raise funds ukuthi sikwazi ukusiza izingane zesikole ezifundelayo. You may join us after the rally. Sikwazi ukusebenza. I'm sure you will enjoy the city of choice. You are all welcome. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga Chairman. DSG mina ngumuntu wase7 futhi ngiyikomanisa. Manje khona into engingazazi. Ngiqala ukuzwa ukuthi kuthiwa khona i-cold and a warm breakfast. Kuthiwa besisasebe cold. So masuka la sesizoya kweshisayo. Manje uphendulela nisho udriver kanobhale ngemizwe complain lapha ngaphandle ukuthi awu i-breakfast enjani ngenamaqanda. manje uyaphenduleka. Mhlambe ngaphandle kokuchitha isikhathi ka communication sisebenza no Comrade Amanda no Comrade Umbali. Now Comrade Amanda uswenkile. Uyibiza uDeputy Spokesperson. Manje vele ngibheke ngathi awufuna lo msebenzi wabantu. Cela uzosintroduce nabakhona.
Good morning to our guests from the different institutions, Swingilegi leadership, with media breakfast. This is for the indulgence of our invited guests so that they know who's exactly here with us. So without further ado, we have amongst us our leader, Comrade Nomvula, our second DSG, as you have seen first. I'm up here touching the I do apologize. I do sincerely apologize, our very first DSG, and we greet you. Before that, Shampombo Sebongakul. Thank you. And we do have Umamba Tadlamini, our NEC member, who's present with us. We have Comrade Joe Patla. We have Comrade Spongile Besani. Comrade Nobala Umdolo is with us. Comrade Chairman, Angasho Kul Chair. Our chair is here. I don't want to make it more rose. I also have Chair La Angashekon. Comrade Nomako Gosnelani, our Deputy Chair, is also amongst us. And then we have the Women's League Coordinator, Comrade Mato, who's seated there. We also have Umambongi, a Women's League convener, but also a PC member of the ANC. Comrade Super Zuma is also seated there, is amongst us. Comrade Zinke Kzn, a PC and PWC member, is also with us. Comrade Mafiga Mdebele is with us, as you would have known. Comrade Mbali Fraser, Comrade Tlaga Ntombela, Comrade Celiwe Madlopa, Comrade Mtandeni Lungwane, Comrade Mzi, who's welcomed us, and we also appreciate the invite. The chair of this region, Siabonga, Comrade Mzi Zuma is also with us, a PEC member. Comrade Lawrence Dube, Sanco Provincial Chair. Thank you, Chair. He's also amongst us today. We also have Comrade Ndudla Dwayo, Sanco Provincial Organizer. We have Comrade Ningi Mbanjwa, Sanco Provincial Treasurer. If there's any other, we also would like to acknowledge. We will share with our media guests if we have the list, but for now, these are the names of the leaders that we have received. Thank you so much.
Siyabonga Sis Amanda. So nobala iPWC yakhe corridor. We can easily convene and take a position to reconfigure some of the region. Asibonge ngaphandle kokuchitha isikhathi ngicela sisukumise uScar. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Ngwane, for appointing us this opportunity. Let us greet Anc Kzn, Comrade DSG, Comrade Nomvula, Anc Kzn. We've been told already in our midst that she's being accompanied by other NEC members, some serve in the NWC. We recognize their presence. Comrade Nsondo is deployed in this province, Comrade Patla is deployed. Comrade Mongamel Badlamini has been here, comes from this province and has served. Comrade Regional Chair, Mapeleni, revolutionary greetings. Sanco Chair, Zogele, with your collective, we greet you as well. The Alliance, Comrade DSG, Sekona, Provincial Chairperson, Comrade Duma, greetings, Comrade Chairman, Kosa to Chair. The fourth state that is amongst us, let us greet you. It's one of those days where we're here to celebrate the ANC. The Chair has already alluded, probably didn't go emphatic on why Moses Mabhida at this point in time Mocabange politics yaKwaZulu Natal, at the cornerstone, you have this region called Moses Mapita. A lot of things started in this region. President Madiba was arrested in this region, in this corner belt of this region. The majority of freedom fighters, I saw a jail before Robben Island, I exiled in our midst. We've been told the Konusha Plain, Babal Phone. Thank you so much for gracing our shows. I'm just going to highlight 3 issues. But firstly, I want to thank the role that has been played by UPS by ensuring that he visit the funeral of Comrade Upedi Hapa, or the journalist paid. It was one of those. I'm sure those who understand it, or why do I regard him as a comrade. He was that, and he has served for years, and he will always uses that energy. He was impartial, he will report correctly, but he understood the ground, he understood the country called South Africa. So I want to thank you, Nobala, for ensuring it was a critical stakeholder. We are glad that you went there, and in some instances, Comrade DSG Zoya the acknowledgement on its own verse Ubuntu. Comrade Langamanda did not talk in that funeral, but he was there, which is critical. I've already suggested Comrade Pierce in his honor, the memorial service. It will be critical in the national because ngoba antagonistic, diametrical opposed views are coming from a fourth state. Ikakhulukazi undowa ngisho into siyomenza ukuthi uyabona fanele wazi ukuthi khona nje abasebenza ukudistort kanti ukhulume kahle. Manje mekhona undowa fanele ishuthe yonke into irecord emafiki. Uzaka kuthatha nje eceleni ukuthi out of context. So lokho umjaha ke manje uyoklarify. There is on a lighter note, but I just wanted to start there. Going to Kaluza is amongst other pillar of the ANC. The underground was also pruned thoroughly in that belt. Those who understand, but I wouldn't want to add more ingredients, Comrade DSG, but in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, amongst other things on the table, if kungenzeka potential authority agcine vala iThala Bank, KwaZulu-Natal outlook is going to collapse. I'm glad the officials of the ANC take this matter very serious. We understand the banking sector in our country, it has been monopolized for quite some time. Go to other developed countries, each and every corner you'll find a bank. But in South Africa, we've got 6 main banks, and they are the ones who are contesting this space. Just imagine in province of KwaZulu-Natal having that 157 billion. If you could transfer it to iThala Bank, so it's better than iThala. The sovereign wealth fund already, it will make an essence and a sense at the same time. But as long as we use this bank, they will tell you, even among mayor, that your account is sporadic. Already they are profiling you in a very condescending manner. Therefore you don't qualify. It's a strategy and it's done. It's something that we must fight as revolutionaries. And the ANC stood for that ground. There was once a time President Ulthuli, Mongameli Ulthuli, in that era, what would I have done if I was a prime minister? Amongst other things is nationalizing the banks. Nationalization of minds in that time. Just imagine that vision. Yamvumbi ngalesa sikhathi thina sicabanga into ezincane sigcina sixabana even ezingekho that fundamental. I-breakfast nature yakhona ke ngokomthetho kusuke you are breaking the fast. Assumption is that you've slept probably 8 or 9 o'clock, then the body was replenishing. Kodwa into lo ngabo 2 akho fast oyibreakayo anyway bongazabulala. So uyazidela nje ukudla ngenzela ukuthi categorize ukuthi breakfast la inama dimensions akhona. Kuthi umzimba ukwazi ukureplenish bazokutshela odokotela ukuthi kwenzakalani. Ayangicabanga namuntu ngisho breakfast. Welcome to enjoy breakfast. Amongst other things, in Moses Mapita in the province of KwaZulu-Natal DSG, for the last 2 consecutive years, we've been regarded contributing positively on the issue of reducing unemployment. It's not enough, but even in the last quarter, yes, we've done fairly well with contribution. It's something that we still want to work. And if issue unemployment, ayikho indawo fanele sihlangane singayikhulumi ngoba it's a ticking time bomb. It's something that the ANC, ANC has delivered a lot of things in this country, in particular when it comes to growth trajectory. But it's not yet sufficient because unabantu who are qualified, unabantu, it's strange, DSG. KwaZulu Natal, abantu abebhala umatric, if they were 113,000, noma bakathola amabhachela babo 70,000 babe baningi. Kodwa iqiniso nje, kala check Anc Kzn, Anc Kzn ukuthi lo nyaka uzositha abantu abawu 13,500 kuphela, the new income. If 22,000. Kusho ukuthi labantu abafundile baphasa ke South Africa yonke bazoya kufunda ini? Bazoya kufunda aphi? It's something that is critical at some point in time that we must talk about it. Go to the countries like Germany. Umuntu university ngoba ezoba udokotela, ezoba engineer. Not all these kids ungayokwenza marketing e-university. So initiative and vocational training has not been yet grind. It's something that is critical. Then the last point, Chair Ngwane, the province of KwaZulu Natal is still facing the consequences of the global warming. We've got disaster almost everywhere. We should figure how we do things, even at the level of planning. We must understand that it is here, and the way our municipalities are planning, kufanele besipluma ne-EIA kube yenziwe ngempela ngoba uma kwenzekile abantu abakhisa kwi-wetland. Sike saya ke sinomakutshwa eMosadlanda DSG kunemizi emukile sesiyambuza ubaba lo ukuthi hayi bona batshela ukuthi amanzi amsaba umuntu abaleka mase khona abantu. So ngiyafuna that mentality abantu bazi ukuthi it's not true. Bazukanjalo. So le ndaba okwakha kuma-wetlands, le ndaba okwakha wetlock area, riverbed, frontline, so it's dangerous and it's risky. Siyafisa ukuthi siyazi, but we are going to expatiate on the details. The President has spoken about industrialization. It's something Mrs. Andreserani that we are going to talk to. And thank you so much, the Fourth Estate, for affording us this opportunity. And recently you've been consistent in ensuring that the outlook and the coverage of what is to be done is something that is done correctly. Thank you so much.
Siyabonga Sihlalo. Ngizothatha ke leli thuba bese ngivulela imibuzo nje embalwa evela kubantu be-media, because isikhathi sizongiphelela ngale ka-10 umcimbi ka-deputy chair ralini. Manje lo wami usuyaphela. Manje sizovulela ukuthi sibuze imibuzo esingayibuza, then emva kwayo kuyongena u-DSG we-ANC emva kwakhe bese siyapha. Number 1 uSiphamandla, animamsele mic. Oh, Clive number 1.
Khona esifuna sibuze leyo.
Baje ke ka DSG basiqala ngoClive uzoyibosha yonke le.
Ice breaking the ice, don't want.
Thanks, Speaker. My name is Clive Ndo from The Witness. My first question is around the cabinet Likotla that recently took place. Our understanding is that the ANC's position on NHI is that it should be budgeted for immediately, and there is one of the central ANC programs going forward. But it seems that as if the ANC is at odds with its coalition partner, the DA, on this matter. Can maybe the Deputy Secretary General tell us what is the position now, what was agreed upon? And also some 2 weeks ago, the ANC said that it would announce the decision on the future of the KZN PEC. As far as we know, that deadline was supposed to be last week, Monday, and it has been missed. So we want to hear what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no.
Sesingaqhubeka sanibona. Usipha Bandla Goke from ENCA. Mine is very brief. For your January 8 statement in Khayelitsha, the statement of the NEC said there were 6 priorities for this year. And number 1 priority is the issue of the renewal of the ANC. Decisive and visible action to renew the ANC. That process has been very slow. Why is it dragging? Are you happy with the progress since 2017 when we embarked on this journey to renew the ANC? What is it that makes it ihambe ngonyawo lonwabo? That's number 1. Number 2, on the issue of point number 3, speed up inclusive economic growth and job creation. It's a fact that successive ANC-led governments in the past have done well in terms of trying to change the status quo of the economy, even though you're still struggling with that. Practically and realistically speaking, how do you plan to do that without outright political power and majority, as you are part of the GNU? And it seems there are tensions and clashes in the GNU because of the ideologies that differ in terms of the path that must be taken to address this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Wamzuzuphumakancane from the ANC Sibia ngapha ngaphesheya. Nginonhlani Phoma kwazi SABC. I just wanted to ask the DSG about her stance or her comments or her opinion on the fact that Donald Trump said that he has taken a decision to pause funding, and a lot of NGOs have come forward saying that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. What is your stance? Are there plans to mitigate these scores of job losses that will occur? And the second question is with regards to the DRC and our soldiers that are stationed out there. Are there plans to bring them back? What is going to happen to our soldiers in the DRC?
Siyabonga.
No.
No. Ukoche No. Yeah. Home ground advantage. No. Let us acknowledge the Ukfioga Deputy Secretary South African Communist Party, which makes all components alliance uthi abe ingxenye yethu. No sihlalo wekhosatho wesifikile usihlalo wesanco ufike early siya acknowledge lokho siyakubonga ukuba nani mina ke ngoba angeke ngisabuya la so sukumisa uDSG and immediately emva kwa DSG kungena unobhala esesibonga nje kuphela siyangena because sesiyenzile accreditation. But the intention was not to deal with the content. We will still have, after the address got DSG, the opportunity for the media to ask is in relation to the address that will be presented. It's a DSG.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. The question from the SABC, that's the reason why I delayed. I took 3 interviews this morning on the DRC and also an interview on the developments in the United States. So strange, it was not the SABC, but it's the same issues, which shows that there's common interest. Most of them were international platforms. Let me acknowledge the leadership of the National Executive Committee that is here. Comrade Bata, Comrade Brajo, Comrade Nzundu, the PEC here led by the chair of the province, as well as the leadership of the ANC here in Moses Mabhida region, our leaders from the Tripartite Alliance plus Sanco, comrades who are here, members of the media. Thanks for the questions that you have raised. I think, let me first deal with the issues of the Lekgotla outcomes. The ANC went to its Lekgotla last week, where the ANC revisited our 5-year manifesto, as well as the work that has been done to implement that manifesto. We then looked at the January 8 statement of the NEC. Out of that, we then identify tasks. The Lekgotla of the ANC identifies tasks for the ANC, as well as tasks for government, so that then those comrades who are then going into a cabinet Lekgotla know exactly and understand what are the priorities as agreed upon in the ANC Lekgotla. Why am I explaining that? Is to affirm the fact that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because our approach on the NHI, our approach on the Expropriation Act, our approach on inclusive growth still remains. What has been an issue is the how part. So Cabinet Lekgotla deals with the how part. And you have had one of our comrades, Comrade Aaron Mutwaledi, who also came out and explained that it can't only be through the fiscus, but we need to look at various other means to fund the NHI. Included in that is to look at how our different FDIs can play a role in that regard, as well as partnership. So, the outcomes of the cabinet, the Lekgotla, you will hear them when the president presents the State of the Nation address. However, nothing has changed. Even in our deliberations with those that are part of the GNU, these are matters that we all differ on the interpretation, but also on the implementation. But on the national health insurance, everybody appreciates that we need to integrate our health system. We need to improve. And how it gets done, then that's a case for another day. But then I'm not going to take the job of Comrade Joe Patla, who is paid more than me from Lutu, to implement this. I think you can also have a much more detailed engagement with him. But the fact is, nothing has changed. The issue about the future of KZN, you know, the mistake that we make, many of us, is an assumption that all that we are committed to are things that are internal in the life of the ANC, and not on issues that are strategic for the future of this country. We might have taken a decision that we are meeting tomorrow to resolve on KZN, but if there has to be a Lekgotla of the ANC, let's rather do that. If there has to be any other thing, we must remind everybody that no one in the PEC of KZN or of Gauteng is expelled from the ANC. And there's no intention to chase away anyone. But the intention is renewal. Is to renew ourselves and to make sure, I always tell people I'm the only person who was nominated for 47 minutes in a conference. No one in the of this 113-year-old old organization. But what I'm trying to raise is that we're taking time because we mean business and we don't want to hurt the movement in these processes. So that is where we are. We will come in with interventions that helps us to grow, that helps us to be better, but also that also helps us to understand a KwaZulu-Natal and a Gauteng in terms of its own dynamics, and then the capacity of our structures in the two provinces. So I know you work on deadlines. We have no deadline. We will deal with it at the appropriate time. Sikagekile manje saphethwe na yisona sisaya kusona, so we must deal with those issues. And I really appeal also that we must give the NC time. Spamandla, as you raised, that this is at a snail pace. Renewing a movement is not an annual event. It's a process. And that's why we'll keep on harping on it every year, in and out, because the ANC has never found itself in this kind of an environment that is different from 100 years ago or 50 years ago, where you are challenged even with the proliferation of new parties in the space. Secondly, the dynamic relationship between the ANC and the people of South Africa, who do not actually just choose to not vote for the ANC and vote for somebody, but choose not to vote for anyone. The majority choose not to vote for anyone and get the ANC to be at 40%. That over 22 million, if elections if we're counting those who abstained from voting, that is the number that has won elections. That is the biggest number. So part of this renewal is to reconnect with the base. What we did yesterday, we continue to do. We engage, we go for door to door, and I'm disappointed that you guys didn't come, because I thought you would be interested not only during elections, to hear what people of South Africa are saying when we're not coming to ask for votes. Because part of what they're communicating is that this is what we want you to do. You came, we raised issues of water, the matter has not been resolved. Kodwa ke iyazama i-council yethu, because it's doing 1, 2, 3. You walk into somebody's house and then they say, you know what, I am a beneficiary of government interventions. I'm sewing, I'm doing uniform and all those things. I'm self-employed. What I need now, because the last time when you came to ask for votes, I said I need to be empowered so that then I can be the supplier of choice for our schools. And it becomes very important that these anecdotes that I'm making must be seen as part of the renewal of the NC. I think you've been with us before, and you have seen us when there are no elections. And now you can see us even during elections and post this dramatic loss, that we still go to people. You sit in a corner, you find young people talking to us and saying, we were told that we must vote differently because the intention was to come back and sort the ANC. I need to votani so that then kuzolunga. But now they understand what uqoshiwe lo muntu. Akaseselo nilunga le ANC. But phezu kwalokho, they are the ones who worked the ground, but they are the ones who are now being taken out of the list. There's not democracy. So the renewal of the ANC is about us continuously interacting and understanding the views and attitude of South Africans. So it's not time bound. It continues, and as you renew, there are new ones and there are new challenges, and of importance it is about adapting to the material conditions as they prevail. So that's part of what the renewal is all about. We invited you to the launch of the foundation phase of political education, where all of us who are leaders are supposed to be going through that foundation phase. Precisely because the assumption that being elected means you know the ANC. And that if you are a member of the branch executive committee, you know the ANC. That has been the mistake we've made. Only to find that people have come for other ulterior motives. So the renewal is an ongoing thing. And the renewal is not also about purging individuals. It's about renewing. It's about that. Of course, there will be those then the processes of the organization will kick in. Changing the economic outlook. If you read the statement there, I'm happy that you are actually reading word for word that paragraph. Check, we spoke about manufacturing. We spoke about industrialization. We spoke about the informal sector. Fourthly, we spoke about intra-trade in Africa. So, no one amongst all the parties in the GNU can stand up and say this is not going to happen. Investment on infrastructure in our country, making sure that we have access to markets. So it is that we are dealing with, and it is that we believe that working together with all parties in parliament, including those that are in cabinet as part of the GNU, we will continue to make things happen and change the situation. The logistics has been prioritized, and already you know, starting from the 6th administration, there's been a rollout around the development and the improvement of our logistics infrastructure. The issue of Trump. Well, the United States of America had its own elections, and Americans voted for Trump. And their systems are different from ours. We continue to engage at a bilateral level because we do have a binational relationship with the United States of America. We also are represented through our different departments, and in this instance, I think the hardest hit will be the Department of Health. We're in the various non-governmental organizations, especially the ones that are dealing with HIV and AIDS, as well as other communicable diseases. What we have reflected on as the ANC is that part of what we should do is to not only be the recipients of what America is saying through their president, but we should also use our diplomatic channels. And that's where we are dealing with these matters. I'm sure you have heard, and I think Comrade Joe, with your permission, a program director, can elaborate on this process and even the review that has taken place. So it's not something that we play into the gallery, but also there is also an impact on America itself. Resolutions or decisions or new regulations that come, they also have an impact not only against those that are recipients, but it is also against Americans themselves. You know, they thrive on the pharmaceutical industry, amongst others. So we need to look at that. The discussions that are ongoing on AGOA, Comrade Parks Tau has been moving in and out of the United States of America. Comrade Lamula, I have, as the head of international relations, interacted with political parties in the United States of America, as well as influential individuals to engage. And this is in the best interest of our own country, but as well as in their own interest. and work is ongoing in that regard. The good thing is that we are not over-dependent, but we want to affirm the fact that we rely on each other. We rely on each other in these situations. The DRC situation, firstly, we have conveyed our condolences to the families. We have also wished those that have been injured well. Three things that are important there. Yes, the Department of Defense is the one now that will interact. Remember, our South Africans who are in the DRC are there as part of the peacekeeping mission. So there are processes within that operation where then their remains would then be handed over to the South African Defence Force and then be brought back home. There has been contact made by the Defence Force with the families, and precisely because of the protocols of the army, because I think part of what we sometimes forget is that there's command and control in the army. And when they are there, they are not necessarily under our command, but they are under the command of those that are responsible for the operations in the DRC. What we can affirm is the fact that we have been casualties, but they have also, the other side, have had excessive casualties. But because of the confrontation that has been ongoing, again, under the protocols of the army, no one has to be bold enough to come and give a full account until at the time when there has been a resolution to say, now let's go and explain. I know that there were people who were excited to see the white flag, and I was laughing, hey, we saw the flag. But when you check what exactly happened, it was about the other side coming to recover their own bodies. But because, again, how military operates, these are the details that do not necessarily belong to us because there are no updates like an NC conference. We sit in a room and then the media are briefing. No. So at an appropriate time, there will be a full account of what has happened, and that will be done once the remains are handed over here to us as South African. Our Commander-in-Chief, Wamampela, will then have the right people and allow those generals to give a full verdict of what has happened and a full account. We have an interest in the DRC that there should be peace and security. All of us seated here, we know if there's instability in any part of the continent, it's us. No other country gets hard hit. And therefore, our commitment to avail ourselves in times of conflict is a national interest. Somebody was saying, they find themselves like. And they don't come through the right channels. Therefore, we must work for a better Africa where there's peace and friendship. Other issues that have to do with those conflicts and why our patriots have found themselves there, we need to deal with them. The appetite to exploit our rich mineral resources and the sowing of conflict and tension by those who thrive on a divided Africa. We need to deal with that. The other thing is to look at what SADC has said, that there must be communication amongst the affected parties. They can't, you don't go to war and never come back and sit around the table and resolve. So this is but one of the things that is very delicate, precisely because nowadays everybody and anyone assumes that they understand and assumes that things can be attended to anyway and anyhow. In this situation, as it has happened before, we've been part of many peacekeeping missions. It is unfortunate that this occurred, and once it is appropriate, it will be explained. How did it happen that we have over 10, more than 10, 13 of our own who actually were attacked? But as of now, we are a nation in mourning. We should, all of us, await the appropriate time once the Commander-in-Chief gets a full handover of everybody and everything that occurred there, that possibly he can call a family meeting and tell the nation about what has happened. Thank you very much.
No, thanks very much, Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Joe. Not economist, our NHI.
No, thanks, Comrade Provincial Secretary, to leadership DSG1, and all comrades and colleagues in the NEC and PEC, REC. Just to time, let me just proceed with the tasks as directed by DSG1. Firstly, on the issue of the NHI, we know that right from even when this bill now being an act was in Parliament, the DA was against. They came with a number of suggestions. We went through the legislative process. The bill was passed in the National Assembly by quite a big majority, not only through the ANC, but other parties also which supported. We went through to the NCOP as well. In the NCOP, 8 out of 9 provinces approved the NHI, and then went to the president for president assented to it was it in May before the elections. So the DA has remained against. They've come with a number of proposals, but they've been reminded that this is now an act of parliament which, beyond having been passed in parliament, ascended to the president, what is left now is for it to be implemented. And there are processes, including regulations, which we said even at the time when they were still very noisy during the parliamentary process, that the details will of course be in the regulations, which are also public. There will be public participation in terms of the implementation regulations. So of course they continue to raise the matter, make proposals. The key issue really, which I mean, they say they are in support of universal health coverage, but not NHI. They want a different version of universal health coverage. And the key issues really, which we know separate the rest of, I mean, the ANC and its allies from the position of the DA, it's really about protection of the business aspect of health services. Now, the NHI Act, it's not against a provision of health services also by private providers. It actually says that we must bring together both the public and the private, but make sure that it's one system in terms of Therefore, instead of private providers being paid differently, the same kind of fund must be able to reimburse those who are providing private services. The fund must procure services from the private, but also reimburse also the public sector. Make sure that, so those are the things. But in terms of going forward, we are proceeding as the regulations are in preparation, and once they are ready, once the regulations are ready, they will be published for public comment and public participation. We are required in terms of the National Health Act to publish regulations for a period of 3 months, in which period then everybody can comment, and then those comments have to be considered. But it must be comments which we consider, they must not be against the actual act. It must be in terms of details of implementation. So that's really where we are, and through the cabinet systems of the clusters, they will be, when the regulations are published on various aspects, they will be debated even in those clusters. They will be presented in those cabinet clusters, but also in terms of the public. So that's really where we are. Of course, there are other parties which have taken government to court. We have the Solidarity, the union called Solidarity. They have taken us to court. We also have the Board of Healthcare Funders, which is an association of various medical schemes, which has taken us to court. A few days ago, the Hospital Association of South Africa, HASA, also announced that they are also going to take us to court. This is the Association of the Private Hospitals. So those are legal issues. They will be argued. We have been in court before with Solidarity when they challenged why and said that we're preempting the passing of the act when we established a branch in the department to drive the preparation for the NHI. Then they took us to court to say that we're preempting because the act at that time was not yet passed. But the court agreed with us, the High Court agreed with us that creating a branch of a department does not require to wait for an act, because this is a branch to implement a policy which was approved by cabinet. So we've been there before. So we're also preparing for this, the main one now, which is actually challenging the act. But in the meantime, preparations are there to make sure that all the processes are followed, and the details then, as I've said, will be discussed through the public participation and through the various structures. On the US foreign aid suspension, it's quite unfortunate because what the Trump administration is wanting to do is to reverse a very long relationship. Incidentally, what is quite interesting, the main funding which we've been working with the US on, what is called the presidential emergency funds against HIV and AIDS, was actually initiated by a Republican president in 2003, George Bush Jr. So it was a Republican-led initiative to work with the rest of the world to fight against HIV, AIDS, and also TB and malaria. So, as you would be aware, subsequently they issued another decision to say they are waiving the suspension of the activities. Of course, it will cost, so they said now while they are reviewing over 90 days, they are now waiving the suspension, so they are reinstating the support for the 90 days. Then they will keep on check, they will, amongst other things, of course, the interesting thing is that they have not formally communicated with the government. They just issued and then gave instructions to the service providers who are contracted to work with us. We don't have a letter from the US administration to government. We have a structure where we work with the US. Comrade Nomagugu will remember, we came here in Maritzburg to sign a memorandum of agreement. Where were we? You hosted us with the US ambassador here in Maritzburg. I think we're also at Kaluza. Yeah, we came there to formally sign, to actually elevate it from just an ordinary agreement to a formal memorandum of agreement with the US government in 2023. We elevated that. So we work directly with the American embassy in terms of all this. We've got protocols. They've never, so when Trump came in, they just issued public statements, gave an instruction. Equally so, they have now withdrawn that instruction to say the work must continue. But the impact if later on they reinstate the suspension or cancel the whole relationship, it will destabilize. It will destabilize. How much are we receiving? We've got. They want to suspend a contract of. We currently have 2024-25, which is $450 million US. But this time we had also in the past it used to be 1 year, and then they then agreed that will be 2 years. So we actually have a 2-year agreement currently, which is supposed to go from 2025, 2026, another $450 million US. In rands, that's about 7 billion rand. But that doesn't come into the health department's budget. It goes directly into programs. There's various service providers who are contracted, who are providing services. Very important. So, of course, including also employment of staff, as you have had Comrade Arun, I think, responding, that they contribute about 17% of our HIV program in terms of services on the ground. That's around 15,000 employees who are directly working on the ground. Some of them are attached to our own clinics, others are working in other standalone services. So it will help if ultimately they proceed and cancel the agreement. The question is, it's a contract. We've signed the contract. But what it means, you see, Trump doesn't recognize even formal international agreements. So it's possible that by that decree, say presidential we can also withdraw from every contract. So what we will have to do is to reprioritize. You can't, we will not be in a position to can say they've withdrawn about 7 billion rand a year, so Treasury must give us 7 billion. There are some of the areas where we could reorganize. We will need additional assistance to continue the fight against HIV and AIDS, but some of the services can be reorganized, but it will definitely have an impact. We're hoping that ultimately they will change their minds, because this, as other aspects have indicated, the benefit is not only to the countries which are receiving the support, even to diseases don't know boundaries. They have not learned from COVID that infectious diseases don't know boundaries. But we are hoping that they will change their minds. If not, we'll have to reorganize ourselves and make sure that maybe with other partners we can still be able to. We have no other choice. We have to make sure that we proceed, make sure that the fight against HIV, AIDS and other infectious diseases continue until we can be victorious in that respect. Thank you very much, comrades.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive account, Comrade Joe. Asikwazanga ke thina ukungena lapha e-medical school. Angibeki nobani ba. Kunama-points. Ne-subject ezithile ezifuna izipasa. Ngangifuna bona uba ugqirha, kodwa akuwazekanga akungene e-medical school. No, thanks very much. I think comrades and friends have been greeted. At only the exceptions, comrades from Anc Military War Veterans joined us, Comrade Nat Nobala, and Treasurer, Umeya lapho waseMpofana. And Anc Kzn TV that has arrived. And we really wish to thank all of you, especially the members of the Initial Working Committee, Comrade Besane, Comrade Joe, members of the NEC, Comrade Mamu Bata, members of the PWC, PEC that are here, Mayor of Ngudluvu, Comrade Original Chair, Mayor of the Seat of Choice, the DSG, the Alliance, I will go province in Tonga to Sipeto Waduma. Uhlalo we-ANC nguduma, uhlalo wekhosathu nguduma, ukhonvina we-youth nguduma. Sesibalekela nje ingatshintshi iprovince kuthiwa iduma province. Alliance Sanko, Comrade uDube, siyabanga uDube ukuthi ufike kuqala ngithi hayi bengiqashe apha. Ngifike kuqala akekho ngishanga isikhathi uDube khohlwa. Unobhala umakomanisi, sekela nobhala, angatshawa umthimba. Sekela nobhala siyabonga. Nemedia yonke efikile, nama-regions khonibonile nobhala waseMusadladla, Comrade uKing Madana. Uzibiza ngoKing kepha emthonjeni Madana. Uthi uyena isilo salapha. Sasemthonjani, bayalwa naphambi koqabane bafuna ukuvuselela umkhosi bakubo. Siyabonga. Simasuka ke la sizo umjuqwa ngibonanga ntombana kaMgabhe awu nina sikwazi impela kwaNduna awu ingxolele mfowethu siyabonga sibonge kakhulu ngokukhethekileyo umbishop wethu ubaba uLvuno kunalo mthandazo wakhe awawuthandaza athandaza nomfundisi. Sibonge nje bonke abantu ababekhona. Masisuka ke la sizawugeza izandla lapha kula matafula besiwabamba. Sigeza izandla lapha then izoqala letafula. Yilona elizogeza izandla. Uzocela nobhala asikafiki la kulinganeni u100%. Kuzoqala letafula. Uzoqala letafula leli eno-DSG kuze leli kuze leliya landelana wonke. Imedia engakathola ama-accreditation sicela ihlale phansi abantwana bakhona bazo-accredita where you are, even i-leadership engakreditwanga zo-accredita where you are. Thank you very much. Sibonga kakhulu, uNkulunkulu anibusise nifike kahle edlalini niziphathe kakuhle nimamele i-DSG. Nazi uyahlupha wena kubabadlali nokulala. Sizolinika ama-1-on-1 after rally wodwa. Akho ma-1-on-1. Ishaye nje ifideli raw injalo.
Kuthiwa nje bakusikaze ngedlozi wabuyela kuNkulunkulu.
Ikhawu lethu lonke. Noma sekukubi. Ngikhumbula uNkulunkulu amandla kaNkulunkulu. Sibonga kakhulu.